we come on the show and it seems like we have it figured out, but we're all still a work in progress.
In a world desperate to tear itself apart, only one man, and some other people, stand in the way of total destruction. Together they will right the wrongs, make bad, good, and single-handedly destroy evil, together. Who is this man, you may ask? This man is Geoff.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Geoff Jones and Friends Make It Better, the show that takes one of life's little annoyances, gives them a microphone, a guest, and a podcast, and the unwavering belief that you can just make everything better. I'm absolutely delighted today that I'm joined by Aaron and Tim from the No Streetlights podcast. Guys, how are we today?
Thank you so much for having us, man.
Yeah, thank you so much.
No, I really appreciate you guys coming on. Look, first things first. So I'm kind of a new listener to your show, and first of all, I love just the pace, the tone of it, the subjects. But give everyone who's listening just a bit of a roundup of exactly what it is you guys do, what you talk about, and where you can be found.
Well, this is a bit of an experiment for us. Tim and I have talked about having or starting a podcast or something of that nature for forever, really. I mean, since we were kids. Uh, and finally, we found something that we felt called to really drive towards, and that was encouraging societal growth towards kindness through understanding. So every Friday, we bring on guests and we talk about our experiences and uh, how we can kind of come together and make it better.
Yeah, we to kind of sum up, and my personal favorite way to tell people about what our show is about is we want to talk about what you've been through, how it's changed you, and what you have learned. And we want to provide a platform for people who may not necessarily be able to have the opportunity to tell their experiences and come on and be able to explain, shine a light on what their human experience is.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, from okay, so the Make It Better podcast has been going on for a couple of years now, and guests have come and talk it. They start talking about one subject. It could be dogs, but then just through conversation and experience, yeah, if there's something someone's passionate about, they talk about experience, and quite often the conversation morphs into something maybe more personal. And we've covered so many different subjects, and so for me, I love it because there's hearing people just talk. I think is inverted commas therapy. I just think it's great. And it may not change someone for the rest of their life, but it will help, and they'll maybe have some self realization. So I think, like I said, I've listened to some episodes. I think it's fantastic what you guys have put together. It's just a platform for people to share.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one of the episodes that really kind of showed me the power in this free form open narrative kind of deal was Amanda's episode in season two, which we titled "Find Your People." We really thought that episode was going to be about finding your tribe and stuff, but we very quickly got into burlesque photography and how that kind of gave her her power back, being able to see herself without all of the cognitive distortions that we carry with us. And so that is something we really do try and focus on, is just letting the guest talk. And as you kind of work through your thoughts, uh, you find some deeper ones.
Fantastic. Well, I mean, we are flipping the script, so it's time for you guys to talk and for me to to listen. So let's get into it. What exactly is it that we are making better today?
So I think the thing that we want to focus on making better is going to be the human experience. So to a lot of people, that can be defined in a different way. But at the end of the day, the human experience is exactly what it sounds like. There's no hidden meaning behind those words. It's what you're going through in life. And a lot of people want to face challenges by themselves. Either they don't know that they have a community around them to help them, or they are unaware of the fact that what they're going through, somebody else has most likely gone through something similar. And it makes it very difficult to try and trudge around in the world, especially the way it is now, thinking that you have to tackle everything by yourself. And I mean, you're absolutely wrong. Like, you have people around you who are more than willing to come and help you or provide you the tools that you need in order to fix whatever situation you're facing.
Love it. I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, well, I would say it can take people a long time to come up with that realization as well. Um, I mean, you guys have been doing this a while now. Was it an experience, a shared experience, self experience? Like, how long for you did you realize, well, actually, people need to be talking? Was it something yourselves? Like, did you have a moment, or were you just like just saw a lacking out in the world? Of what brought you to want to talk about this on a weekly podcast and about the human experience?
I've always felt like Aaron personally has had a higher emotional IQ, starting out while we were younger and kind of growing up. He's always been more in tune with finding a balance in his life. And for me, I kind of just kind of coasted through. Like, I've never really faced, well, that's kind of a wrong way to put it. I've faced challenges through my life, but I thought I handled them, right?
Yeah.
And then about 6 years ago, I went through the hardest thing I've ever had to go through, which was my best friend passing away. And that sent me into this really dark spiral that I eventually had no idea that if I could ever climb out from it, right? And I started realizing as like the fog was clearing and I'd wake up like hungover the next day after trying to drink my life away the day before. I started realizing how many hands were reaching towards me trying to, tell me like, hey, you need to get up, you need to get
Mm.
better, like you need to face this. And I think that was the first time I ever realized like asking for help, it's okay. And the people around me were telling me their stories and how they've had to face grief and loss. And I was like, damn, I'm not the only person out there who who's felt this way. And I think that kind of opened the window and showed me that there's a lot more to this square box that I've been existing in for the past 30 years. So yeah, that was the first step for me.
Sorry to hear of your loss, and yeah, and that was kind of very eloquently put, and can feel that kind of that maybe still raw emotion, but coming through in that appreciation of just people. And I say that the hands that were coming towards you. No, I appreciate it. Thank you for sharing. And Aaron, sorry, we've both cut you off now.
No, I my timing is awful here lately. Seems every time we hit record, my internet just plummets. So finding the gaps is a bit of
See,
a tribulation here.
Aaron, you won't know the comedy timing of that as you froze and then and then said the sentence. My the absolute comedy timing.
You love to see it. Okay, excellent, excellent. So for me, uh, childhood was difficult. I was a sensitive kid, like most kids probably. uh, and I felt unseen and unheard. So one of my goals with this show was to provide a platform for people to be seen and heard. Uh, and we do experience that dichotomy of we come on the show and it seems like we have it figured out, but we're all still a work in progress. Everyone says, I'm some uh, deep, insightful, enlightened, hermit or whatever, but I have no clue what's going on, and I'm struggling every day.
So I'm not laughing at the struggle, just the so there's everyone's going to hear you say
It's
I struggle
important.
every day, and then me laughing out loud. That's not sorry. There was mistimed laughter. But no, that like I say, it is those. It's that on the outside, what we project on the outside, and we've on this show we've had mental health, we've had a men's mental health charity on, talking testicular cancer and the mental health around that and stigma around talking about it. And so I'm fully in line with what you guys are saying, that even people who appear to have it all together and talk about it. And I mean, I say I'm a advocate of mental health, discuss mental health. Inside, I'm a ball of wool that's just all there. But I don't know if I coined the phrase, stole it, or made it up. I was walking the dog a couple of weeks back, and I was doing actually some mental health awareness training for a group, and I thought it's gonna sound quite egotistical, but no, it's um, if I could write a book with everything I've learned about mental health, but I wouldn't read a word, because we we put it out there, don't we? We offer maybe advice or solutions if we feel it appropriate, but we very rarely take it ourselves until,
Yep.
they say, Tim, you're at that moment where you think, oh, okay, I'm at the bottom of the floor. There's no further way apart from going 6 foot further.
Yeah.
And that's always amazed me, really. And I'd say it's greatly kind of down you talk about it, but actually, nothing's figured out yet. And that term work in progress. I suppose where are you based now? Like this work in progress, your human experiences. What was it that you're kind of going through and relaying and projecting or hoping?
Yeah. So it, like I said, so 6 years ago was when I was at my lowest. It took me a good, I'm going to say 3 years to crawl out of it. So the past 3 years have been a journey of more like rediscovering of who I want to be, who I can be, and then embracing the love that the world has offered me since then. Since all of that happened and I've started focusing on myself, I've gotten married. So I have a wonderful wife who I look at as my absolute best friend in the entire world. I don't ever want to do anything without her. Like I don't I don't want to go on a bike ride unless she's with me. I don't want to go on a run unless she's with me. I don't even want to go to the gym unless she's with me. But yeah, we do everything together. And I find that embracing that kind of love, that kind of change has really put me in a much better place than I thought I would ever be. And it's taught me that, one, to make it clear too, when we're talking about the human experience and how we want to make it better, we are in complete agreement with you that there's no such thing as like the perfect human experience. That's a farce. That's something that is completely made up. Unless you're the Buddha himself and you've reached nirvana, you are not going to have a perfect human experience. And we just want to make it better in the same sense that over the past couple of years, my life has gotten significantly better. I've changed my outlook. I've changed how I accept love and how I perceive love and how I offer love to my friends and family. And that alone is a massive like boost to where I ever thought I would be.
That's fantastic to hear. It really is. And yeah, kind of just applauding that change as well in a relatively short amount of time, because
Mhm.
it takes okay, sometimes it can be the effect of a trauma, but a lot of the time it takes a long time for us all to get a bit messed up, and kind of find that way through. I mean, so Aaron, what when you look outwardly at the rest of the world, I'm trying to, I'm not quite sure how to phrase this, but everyone's going through their human experiences, and kind of what are the pluses and the negatives. I mean, a lot of things like social media highlighting the rights and wrongs in of people. Like when you look externally, how do you feel that I don't know, humanity's coping? Maybe that's too much of a broad question, but yeah, when you look externally at the situation, how does it make you feel?
So whenever I take a look at like the state of where we're at, especially Aaron's heard me rant on about this on our show a couple times now, but I hate social media. I feel like it is an absolutely awful thing. Okay, it's a give and take, but it's more take than give, right? Social media allows us to be more connected than we ever have been ever in the existence of humanity, which is a great thing because, it's a lot more difficult to be led astray, right? Like if somebody tells you the sky is green and you look up, if you can just, pull out your pocket supercomputer and just Google search, is the sky green? You're going to get the answer right there in front of you. I've had multiple situations where it's like I had to figure out some kind of complex situation, or even like working on my car or something. You can just Google search the blueprints or
Yeah.
mechanics for your car and change your brakes in 30 minutes. Back in the day, you had to go buy a manual to do that. That's incredible. However, the mental health aspects that social media is bringing to the table, you and this isn't how everybody goes through this, and this isn't how everybody experiences this. But if you have an Instagram or a Facebook and you post that really awesome photo that you took the night before while you were out with some friends at a beautiful park and it gets 2 likes, you're probably going to be pretty bummed. Like, dang, nobody else enjoyed that view or nobody else saw it. But if it got 100,000 likes, now you're addicted, right? Now you're posting another photo, trying to catch the same high that you had. And it's very much like a drug in a way. Maybe you're not chemically bound to it necessarily, but that serotonin release that you get from that attention, it's it is addictive, and it can be you can spiral downward very, very fast. Like there's social media influencers like Nikocado Avocado. I don't know if you know who he is or not.
No.
He's very popular on YouTube. But he is like the perfect case study of like an individual who let the fame go way too far and ended up he's now like I don't know how he is exactly. I don't keep up with him. I just know who he is. But his health like declined drastically. Like he was like 160-pound vegan who seemed to be enjoying his life and as a musician and everything. Now he's like over 300 pounds. He can barely walk on his own. He does like the mukbang videos where he sits there and eats a ton of food because that's what the viewers want. That's what gets the numbers up. And that's what he became addicted to. And it's sad. It's really sad.
That is, yeah, they said that whole life change just following that the algorithm, that this is what has made everything, that this is what's boosting the numbers and the interaction. So this is what I must keep doing. And I appreciate, there's financial reward, but is it worth that sacrifice?
No, sorry. The irony is not lost on me either that I'm complaining about social media on a platform that is, widely considered a social media
Yeah.
platform in some way, shape, or form. Like that, I understand that, and it's kind of calling the kettle black. Like I'm over here feeding into social media while also saying it's terrible for the mental health. I think with all good things comes moderation, right? Like if you do indulge in alcohol, having 2 beers, probably fine, right? But if you're one of those people that has to have 12 beers just to enjoy a little bit of time that
Hmm.
evening, that's not moderation. That's a problem.
Yeah, I agree. And what I do say though is having the podcast and social media, because obviously you have to put out on social media to try and get people to listen. And I think, yeah, maybe I'm a bit hypocritical because I creators of all, whether you write, a trilogy or a masterpiece, musician, whatever it is, I have, maybe it's my old age, I have kind of been a bit slower to gain this kind of technological celebrity stage. The TikTok. I mean, my biggest hate in the entire world is TikTok
Hmm.
dancing. Not the dancers, they're trying to do exactly what everyone else is trying to do, but the fact it exists and people are doing it for the likes, and it's just I am unnecessarily angry. And I'm a fairly zen guy most of the time. This is one of the things outside of the normal things in society which you should expect to get upset
Right.
about open up the phone and going on TikTok or Instagram, just seeing 3 people just dancing. I won't get into that. But I don't put negative comments,
Hmm.
and that's the other aspect. Aaron, so where, like, do you share Tim's kind of mindset around social media? Are you a bit more active? Are you less active?
Yeah, so I post a lot on Facebook and Instagram. Tim handles most of our video content, and I do most of the just words with a photo behind it. Uh, but in reference to your earlier question of like where we are or what we're driving towards right now, um, I'm really trying to wake up because, as Tim said, social media and having these supercomputers in our pockets, it's a distraction. It diverts
Mhm.
us from our life, this moment, our purpose. So I'm trying to reach out to as many people as I can through these social medias in order to have them go touch grass, have them realize, like Tim said in this Friday's episode that I'm frantically editing, uh, that a lot of the stuff you're seeing is scripted. That's not someone walking up to someone candidly in the street and doing a thing and getting a reaction. It's two people who designed a set to get an emotional reaction from you
Yeah.
so that then you dig deeper into their stuff, watch more of their stuff, whatever. Uh, that's not reality. Uh, so this might be a little self-destructive, but I'm trying to get our our community away from the digital space and focused on coming back into this moment and building something beautiful with the people who you want around you.
Mhm.
That's beautiful. That really is. And it's it's so true. And I speak to my children and they say, oh, this person goes up and has given this person money and they filmed it. And I think, well, either it's a setup or it's just done for like, so that $100 that someone is giving another person, either they're going to make that back tenfold through the video. I'm not saying it's not a nice gesture, but there's a difference between doing it to be self-serving and the difference for just being nice. Um, and I do fall down the rabbit hole argument of, well, they didn't have to do it at all. So that person still has $100, but actually, if they invest in society, anyway, it's the conversation is kind of quite massive. But what I do love is actually, and both of you have kind of have touched on it. There is that there's a big wide world out there, and if things aren't fabricated, and if people are experiencing it, I mean, why should I take a picture of me looking at the most beautiful view there is and expect other people to think, oh, that's a nice one, Geoff. What you've done there is really great. I'll give you a like for this. I shouldn't expect that because they're not there. What do they care what that I'm having a look at it? And back in the day, we just go and look at things and take a Polaroid, and you have to get all your family together, and then you go through the slideshows or the the photo albums, and all the kids just go and run outside and play because they don't want to be a part of that.
Mhm.
whereas now everyone's tagged and yeah, I think there's a magnificent world out there, and if you're stuck on social media, then or you are more likely to see the negatives
Mhm.
than anything. I'd say this is a bit of a food for thought thing. So I I accidentally set up so I have two Twitter accounts, one for me which I use, and one for the podcast which I don't, which is I should, but I don't. But that once I accidentally somehow set up a third one, and it's Geoff with a load of numbers. I couldn't even tell you what it is. I've never posted, I've never liked, I've never followed. It's just there because at some point I'll figure out how to get rid of it. All there is coming through is negative propaganda, usually right wing or anti Meghan Markle or something. It's all certainly right of centre, global as well, not just kind of in the UK where I am.
Mhm.
And to me, that just says, well, because I don't search that stuff. I don't, I back in my heyday, I used to be a social activist wannabe, and but now I don't. I just concentrate on me and my family and making the whole world better. But it was I see these things coming through these posts because I still get notifications
Just small
about
things.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was there. It's all negative, and if you do nothing on social media, you're force fed negativity,
Mhm.
and that maybe it should have surprised me. I don't know. That's why people need to get out more.
Yeah, the social media is it's so full of I hate it when people use the terminology like keyboard warrior and things of that nature, right? But the anonymity that the internet offers you allows you to basically create whatever you want. And let's be honest, what grabs the most amount of attention? Like, do people care if a litter of five healthy puppies was born yesterday? Or do they care more about like a school bus flying off of a bridge, you know? Like
Yeah,
chaos, destruction, negativity. Like we feed into that kind of stuff. It's a mental game for sure. Social media knows that it clickbait, all of those things are they're major forces that drive us to you know, share that information and let other people see the same things that we're seeing. You know, that's why stuff like and again, right, this is just an example here, but like whenever it comes to any of the fighting that we have going on over in the other half of the world, Middle East and things of that nature, that's why those topics are so big online. It's like the tragedy behind it, which it is a very tragic situation, but that's what people are wanting to look up. That's what people are wanting
mm,
to see. Because like the moment I wanted to find out any information about what was going on between two countries that were going at each other, I immediately just went to Twitter and typed in, this conflict. And I was able to see all the information that I could possibly ever want to see. And that's what my social medias were loaded with. So yeah, a lot of that negative information, the things that kind of give you more of a more pessimistic view on life in general, those things get propagated through social media like it's like they're cockroaches, you just can't get rid of them.
yeah. It's it's sad because I mean I sit here as a 40-year-old ish, maybe slightly higher, and
Or younger.
or younger. I mean, that's yeah, we're definitely older. But no, but I sit here and I look at my children, and I'm very lucky that actually none of my children are that they watch YouTube and things like that, but they're not active on social media.
Mhm.
Um, my oldest son, when he was about 16, he set up a Twitter account to follow someone, and he had something like within a week 10,000 followers, but they're all from like Iran or something. And then he like or not necessarily, but like a country. He'd hit some algorithm after doing very little, and then all of a sudden they started dropping off again. And I never kind of got to the idea of why that was because he didn't do anything outrageous. But it did make him think, well, actually, everything I can do is being looked at all around the world, and that what you say there about the negative is why people who are negative or have a negative opinion, um, obviously politics is going to be the
Mhm.
big one, and pretty much in just about any country, um, because you have people who support it and people who are against it will comment and feed it, and that's the machine just doing its job, chugging along. The person who said the thing is now better known, and they can start saying more things to antagonize people, which then other people are defend. And we just keep going and going until the next one's born, and they start. I think it's incredibly sad. There's this whole world out there, but then people who are unplugged from social media and unplugged from the machine, off the grid, they're the weirdos, right? That's what we're told.
Yeah, they're definitely the outliers.
Yeah, sat there. Aaron wants everyone to be sat there with a tinfoil hat on, surely.
First, to your point, life flows from you, not at you. So if you're constantly in that negative headspace, if you're constantly buying into the fear mongering and the antagonism, guess what you're going to find more of? Exactly that.
Mhm.
So we do have to radically change our mindset into, as Tim said, positive, loving, seeing that those around you want to help you, want to grow with you. And that's one of our recent, everyone's doing their best. Don't think they're being malicious when if they're up your day, they're just trying to do the most convenient thing for them.
Yeah.
The person making a left turn through your lane, they're not trying to ruin your day. They're trying to make their exit because they're freaking out. So I do want to say really quick that you guys over in the UK have some stuff figured out. Beans on toast, dude. Hell yeah, dude.
Hell yeah.
Gotta get that cheese on, grated cheese on top as well.
Dude.
Sounds like heaven.
So so we are more alike than we have differences.
Mhm.
And it's important to realize that where our attention goes, our energy, thinking, these people over here are sheeple or keyboard warriors or don't have it figured out, where they're trying to take for a bit. Go talk to someone,
Mm.
see what they're worried about, and then you'll soon realize that none of us we need to. The majority of us are being starved by a very little few because they've figured out the rules to the game. So I think we just need to kind of step back from that and pick something else instead of playing that game. Go back to what do we need and how do we facilitate that for one another.
Yeah, it's so true because people. First of all, I love the bit about the kind of the negative headshot. Yes, we're in it. Sidestep it. Get out of the way. If you can feel that you're in a situation which is consistently barraging with this, then leave it. If you have the opportunity, obviously we're talking social media, so in theory we can switch it off. It should be, or certainly change our own algorithms. Yeah, and you mentioned about how there's so few controlling so many, and that's financially and politically and with the social media and everything's kind of fed in. And I always I kind of advocate for this that we shouldn't look at the person next to you as being the problem. Never punch down. You got to punch up because those are the people that actually we need to focus our anger at. But also, I would then swear a lot at someone who cuts me up on the road. And actually, what you're saying is that they're the main character of their story, right? They're the person, they've got somewhere to be. Okay, they may be a bit of an a-hole, or they may actually be late for a meeting, which they're going to get fired. They might be on the way to hospital. They might, there's so many variables. And I think we easily get so wrapped up in our own inconvenience that we can forget that.
Yeah, I certainly agree with that. Talking about the human experience in general, Aaron and I have worked through our show, kind of trying to figure out an easy way to define what we mean by the human experience, or at least like what encompasses the human experience. And we've landed on you have to look at there's three, arguably four facets that you have to consider, right? So you have the physical, which is your actual physical body. You have your mental, which mental health, making sure that you have inner peace. Spirituality, whatever that may look like to you, whether you are a devout Christian, Buddhist, whatever it is that you find, whatever higher power that you believe in. And then the fourth one that's arguable is financial. So if I remove the financial aspect, because a lot of people, finances can be a huge stress in your life, right? Like that can cause a lot of issues, a lot of mental health problems and everything. But if you just focus on the first three that we talked about, physical, mental, and spiritual, if you make sure that you are healthy in each of those aspects of your life, you're going to start noticing that your human experience is going in a much more positive direction. And then you can start helping influence those around you, your community and your loved ones, to start focusing on those three things as well. And sometimes that's going to look like closing down your social media for a little while, taking a break from Facebook, taking a break from YouTube, TV in general. Maybe you're going to buy a bike and just go cycling for a little bit. you know, try something different, try something more physical, a little bit more mental, you know, mental gymnasticsy, you know, maybe get yourself in a new class, maybe try college or higher education if you haven't. But yeah, if you start taking a look at those three aspects of your life and start realizing which one you're dipping in, because we're all dipping in it, right? Like none of us are ever at 100%, you know. For me, I've been really neglecting a lot of my physical health lately, but I've been excelling more in my spiritual and mental health. So I realize, hey, you know, my side here is starting to go down a little bit, so I need to start building that back up and then refocusing what my human experience is.
So I like that kind of three. To be fair, I do think financial has a big impact, but I also think it's a lot harder to change or to work on that, you know, because of the amount of time in a day. If you get paid for a certain amount, you get, you know, for your time at work. That's it. Unless you put everything into your career, it's difficult. So it is a big stress or consideration of people's lives. But you're right, as part of the money comes and goes. Um, I mean, is there any one of those, the other three, Aaron, that you focus on more than the others, or do you try and keep it quite level as well? Because I could say that physical health is is the one that I'm really slipping on right now.
Yeah, I've been having a bit of a difficult time lately with my depression and my anxieties and stuff. So I've really been lacking on these three pillars, if I'm being open, honest, and vulnerable, as we like to phrase our show is. Uh, but the thing I'm focusing on is not just saying that you are with whatever you deem to be God is your own, but one thing I'm realizing is people will say that they are a holy person for whatever religion they have, but then no one asks, what are you doing then? Are you going out and feeding the homeless? Are you providing shelter to those in need? So I'm really trying to figure out how I determine what is, um, what's the point? You know, are you doing the things or are you just saying it? So, um, I've been realizing that overconsumption isn't the way, as Tim is saying. You know, I'm not just sitting around eating snack food all day. I'm really sitting with myself and thinking in my back, do I need to just lay down?
Yeah.
So I think a big part of it is kind of sitting with yourself and trying to realize what you really need in that moment. Do you need to go to the gym, or is that going to be detrimental to you? Do you, as Kyle said in our episode, you know, if he's got an injury or something, he does focus more on his mental. But how do we fill out that entire picture? And it's one action at a time. So I'm trying to discern where my energies are going to be best placed.
It's a good way to approach it because I mean, for me, it's always mental health first because I spent about 35 years ignoring it, which and eventually the barrier kind of couldn't, you know, couldn't hold any more almost.
You have to play
Um,
catch up now.
right, and so yeah, there's a lot to reconcile and a lot to put back together. And yeah, I go through cycles of physical health, but I think as long as I'm able to play with my children, as long as I'm able to work, then do you know what? I could look better and it would make me feel better. But right now, I've got something else. I've not a kind of a I suppose spiritual or religious person. I think I know it's about community and bringing that. I think we as people bring, but also that doesn't mean that we have to disregard or joke at anyone else's beliefs because everyone has what they believe, everyone has what they need, and as long as they are practicing what they preach, then yeah, and not even it's okay just to be a low key low key religious person as well, right? Because life's full of pressures as it is, without thinking, well, I'm failing at this part of my life right now because you know what, everything else can be so goddamn busy. Um, I mean, this has been thought for it, and it's the kind of conversation which I could probably sit with you guys for about 4 hours and just chat because it's massive, right? It's a huge spectrum of what makes us human, how we interact with others, etc. But on the kind of bits that we've spoken about and your interpretations of the human experience, kind of how do as in a royal society where should people start? How do we start making things better? I know we've covered an awful lot and probably answered it a little bit, but give us that kind of final argument.
My personal belief is if you want to try and make things better, you need to take a second and do a little bit of self-reflection and then self-correction. A fun little exercise that a dear friend of ours, Highland, told us about is sit down in pure silence, no music, try and, not necessarily zone out, but more of like a meditative state. Don't think too much about a specific thing, right? But just sit with yourself for try 30 seconds. Just sit with yourself for 30 seconds in silence. See if you can, right? And then slowly increase that time. And once you get up to like the 3 minute, 5 minute area, you're going to start realizing that's a lot of silence.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of thoughts that's going to start going through your head. And you're going to start realizing who you kind of are. That's when your real, true, genuine thoughts are going to start flowing, right? Just sit there in silence for a little bit, give it a try, think about who you are, and then think about, is that who you want to be? How can I make the change to be the person that I'm wanting to be? Uh, one thing for me was me personally, I hold life, well, I'm sure a lot of people do, but I hold life very precious to the point where I think that all living creatures deserve a very fair shake at life. I don't kill bugs. To the absolute best of my ability, I will always try and move a bug out of my way so I don't harm it or kill it. Um, Heck, the wife and I recently just brought in a stray cat because she was living out on our porch. It's miserable out
Oh,
there. She needed food, she needed shelter. It's hot as hell here in Italy. Now she's got a perfectly reasonably temperatured house. She gets to sleep on a couch every day and she gets food whenever she wants it. So, I hold life very precious and I wanted to make that change in my life to make sure it reflected my beliefs. And it's small things like that that can really start making a huge difference in the long run.
fantastic! It sounds like your cat's got a fantastic life now as well.
We got 3 of them, so they all have fantastic lives.
Oh, and for you, Aaron, how are we making it better?
So, for my summary, first, I agree wholeheartedly with Tim, and we're going to be saying the same thing, slightly different word.
This is why we have a podcast together.
Yeah.
Uh, so, one of our guests made the point that everything is additive. So, my recommendation is to sit and think, what are you bringing to the situation? Are you bringing stability? Are you protecting those around you, or are you making their life harder? Are you supervising to be critical and find error? And why are you doing it like that? You know? Or are you, hey, I think I know an easier way to do that. Can I help you kind of figure this out? Um, Even, some of the gentle parenting now of don't interrupt your kid's focus. Let them figure it out. Are we interrupting to hurry up and get it done? Or are we letting them work through it? Um, so I am embodying peace so that I can bring that to those around me because um, with as stressful as things are these days, that's what a lot of people are missing is peace to be able to relax and come back to themselves.
Oh, right. I mean, gentlemen, that was just. But they say both saying similar things, eloquently and beautifully put. And I wholeheartedly agree. I think, yeah, I spent a lot of time of looking at how I parent and the way I talk to my children, and had a guest on and was talking about speech, and I always say to my child about, he watches a lot of YouTube, so there's Americanisms that come in, and I always say it's tomato, not tomato. It's pathway, not sidewalk. These things. And what I realized just another from this one conversation, because I think I've done all right, the kinds of figuring parenting out, was ask myself why. Yeah, why am I saying don't? Why am I putting a negative connotation on just two words? Why? When I could ask him, why'd you say like that? Oh, okay, because you watch your shit. And let's talk about the interest and where it's come from, rather than it's tomato, not tomato. Because it wastes time, it wastes air, and that's not, even though it's not a shout or an argument, it's not a positive experience. It's oh, I've done something else wrong, and I think the phrase of that we're all working in process that Tim used earlier, because we used earlier, it does involve it, because you know what, we're going to end up moving on to the afterlife, wherever that is, whatever that is, whenever that is, and we're still not going to be the finished product, and we're still not going to be perfect. But you know what? If we can leave behind a like I always say, sorry, I'm going off on a bit of a thing now. You guys have really, I know, kind of instilled something within me. But my kids always say to me, "Oh yeah, but Dad, you do that, or you did that when you were young, or you do that now." When I tell them not to do something, I said, "That's fantastic. My job isn't to make another Geoff Jones. My job is to make a hope or help create a better version of you. That if I recreate another Geoff Jones, then I failed you, because that's not my job. I don't. And it's also a good way to get them to do as I ask them to do. And right, okay, we've come to the end. Thank you so much. They say everyone has to go and listen to those No Street Lights. Do you know what? If you're ready, because I think it's a podcast where you have to be in a position to be accepting of the conversation. Does that make sense? Is that fair? Like, people aren't going to come if they think they've got everything sorted out and they haven't. Then they're going to think, no, this isn't for me. I've got also, these are for people who are on a journey, and they need other people's help and inspiration to know that other people are on their journey. Would that be a fair summary from an outsider?
Yeah,
My
definitely.
my big thing is we get so caught up in our bubble that we're losing our connection, our
Mm.
connectivity, or even our ability to connect with each other. So, you know, providing the platform for people to speak and be heard, it shows you that your world isn't ending. There's stuff going on and people are going through it with you.
And I might be a little bold to make this claim, but I do think that our show does provide the ability of being a mirror in a way, right? If you feel like you have everything figured out and you sit down and you listen to an episode of No Streetlights and you think to yourself, huh, maybe I don't have those boundaries with my family members as tight as I thought I did. Or something to that effect. It could be anything. It could be small, it could be big. I think our show provides the opportunity for people to recognize areas of improvement that they can see in their own life based off of the experiences that others have had. And yeah, I do think you have to be in a certain mental state in order to not, essentially go through an existential crisis. But I do think our show can provide some insight and maybe just make it a little bit better.
Well, okay. For everyone who's listening, you've heard it. So this podcast is about to end. You're going to hear my music, and then what you're going to do is you're going to jump on to the very first, the very last, somewhere in the middle, whichever episode of No Streetlights podcast, and listen and help reflect and help you. And do you know what? Even if it's not you, it helps. Even if it's the way you talk to someone else about an understanding of them. I get that a lot on this podcast. I listen to your episode, and actually, I have seen now traits in someone or behaviors which, you know what, maybe it's not quite right. And people get that from you talking about people's experience, because there's flags, there's trigger points throughout a conversation where someone could think, right, okay, that actually makes a lot of sense to me. So as soon as music ends, go and subscribe to the No Streets Lights podcast. Listen to Aaron and Tim and their guest of the week. Just share and talk. And this last kind of 40 minutes so has been absolutely beautiful, and it's made me hopeful. That there are people out there like me who just want to put positivity out there, and it doesn't, not everything has to just be algorithms and negativity. And if it is, step aside, make your own slipstream. Okay, give us another quick round. Where can you be found on social media, where the podcast is, and how to reach out to you?
So No Streetlights podcast is currently on Spotify, Apple. We are running video on YouTube. We do have a TikTok and an Instagram. You can literally just search for No Streetlights podcast and you should be able to find us.
Fantastic. Right. Everyone jump. Do that right away. And I suppose all there is now is for me to say a very big thank you from me. You can find the Geoff Jones Friends on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. Sorry, is at Better with Geoff, which does sound like a odd dating site. I appreciate that. And yeah, YouTube, Facebook is just Geoff Jones and Friends Make It Better. And I don't know, wherever else you consume your hours and hours of ignoring the real things that happen in life, go and find me on there. But for now, all there is for me to say a big thank you for listening. A massive thank you to my guests, Aaron and Tim. Oh, Aaron and Tim from the No Streetlights podcast. And it's a goodbye from me. And it's a goodbye from Aaron and Tim. Say goodbye, Aaron and Tim.
Goodbye. And thank you so much for having us on, Geoff. It's been an absolute pleasure.
We can't wait to have you on our show, man. We're going to dig into some of these reflections that.
Fantastic. And I'm so glad to that, because I didn't want to throw it out there without being signed still, but I will be joining Aaron and Tim so you can continue to have more conversations like this, or maybe end off the conversation if you release yours before me, but we can figure that one out, can't we? Anyway, right, the music's here. It's going to come to an end in a second. So take care, everyone, and look after yourselves, look after each other. I've been Jerry Springer. Look after yourself and take care. Thank you very much.